Normally at this point we go right into public comment, but before we go into that, there's a young lady named Jean here this evening from the Niagara River Greenway Commission. She contacted my office several weeks ago and would like to speak to the board and the public. So this is the opportunity, Jean, for you to tell us what your commission does. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Great to see you all this evening. Again, my name is Jean Lisseth. I'm the new Executive Director of the Niagara River Greenway Commission. Many of you may have known Rob Blue, who retired about 3 years ago to sunny Florida. Lucky guy. So I was hired about 3 months ago, and I'm now doing a listening tour among the 13 municipalities that are located along the Niagara River to share what the Greenway Commission is up to, what we've set as our priorities for 2017, and really to hear from all of you in terms of what you're looking for and how we can be of assistance to move the Greenway forward. So I just want to start, I'm assuming that many of you, if not all of you, are familiar with the Niagara River Greenway. Yep, great. Yes. So just a quick, what our vision is, it's a very broad and all-encompassing vision. So the Niagara River Greenway is a world-class corridor of places, parks, and landscapes that celebrate and interpret our unique natural, cultural, recreational, scenic, and heritage resources, and provides access to and connections with and between these important resources while giving rise to economic opportunities for the region. Again, very broad, very all-encompassing. So there's a lot of great work to do. When I started, I was clear that I needed to have several priorities so that I didn't get lost in all the various projects that everyone was hoping to have happen. So here's the 3 priorities that we've got that the Commission has committed to for the next year. The first is a continuous trail to connect our 2 Great Lakes, Lake Ontario and Lake Erie. It's to complete the Niagara River Trail. There are several gaps along the trail, several opportunities where the trail is currently on the road and maybe to move it onto an off-road trail, and then just several gaps in the trail as well. So to have one continuous trail going 37 miles the length of the Niagara River connecting the 2 Great Lakes. And then a second piece of that is to have consistent trail signage along the entire trail. So whether you start in downtown Buffalo, you start here in Wheatfield, you start up in Niagara Falls, you have a sense of where you are, that you're on something that will connect you all the way up to Fort Niagara, again, all the way down to the Outer Harbor in the city of Buffalo, that there's this sense of, there's this sense that there's attractions along the way, different places and things to see. So really to have that consistent trail signage across the board so that there's that familiarity with the Greenway. The second is where the green meets the blue. So the Niagara River is an amazing resource that we have in our own backyards. And really to have the trail be that connection between the Niagara River, the blue, the water ecology that we have, the water habitat that we have, and connect it to the green, connect it to this green corridor along the Niagara River that would support ecological habitat, it would support tourism, it would support the communities that are along the Niagara River corridor. In conjunction with that, the Buffalo Niagara River Keeper organization, which many of you may be familiar with, did put together a habitat conservation strategy specifically for the Niagara River corridor. So they've already been working on projects to implement that strategy. They're also working with several municipalities along the river as well to implement that strategy. So we're going to continue working with them to ensure that there's the ecological habitat restoration and connection with the river and with the trail. And finally, the third priority that we have is really for the Niagara River region and the corridor to be a global tourism, ecotourism destination. So we are in quite an amazing resource where people come from all over to see what we've got going on in Western New York. It's pretty incredible. So how can we build on that so that our communities are supported? And how can we build on that so that there's opportunities for people to walk, bike, kayak, whatever birding, whatever gets them out into the outdoors. so that they can experience the wonderful region that we have here in Western New York and along the Niagara River corridor. To that end, we'll also be hopefully moving forward with a Ramsar nomination, which is an international award that would be bestowed onto the Niagara River corridor that really highlights the ecological habitats that are significant here in this region. So how can I help you? My background and I should say, how can I help you and how can the Commission help you? So my background is a planner by profession and by training, and we have a wide variety of experiences and expertise on the Greenway Commission, and we're all here to help the communities along the Niagara River Greenway. So we can assist with planning projects, we can assist with recruiting funding sources, we can be a source for volunteers for trail maintenance. We are working diligently on establishing a volunteer corps so that there can be groups that can come out and provide trail maintenance along any portion of the trail. We can bring in collaborative partners, so there may be an issue or a concern or an idea that a municipality might have, and we can really work with the municipalities to reach out to other organizations and to bring everyone together to the same table to hopefully have that conversation, productive conversation. And finally, we can provide a window to regional planning. We really do see the Greenway both supporting our local communities as well as showcasing the wonderful resources that we have here. And so providing that window into what makes our region so fantastic. So now I would love to hear from all of you in terms of how I can be of assistance, how the Commission can be of assistance. I know that there's an issue currently with establishing a trail along River Road, so if that's something that I can be of help, I would love to be able to do that. If there's anything else where I can be of assistance, any other ideas that you have where you would like to see the Greenway Commission go, I'd be happy to hear those now. And thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Well, thanks for coming tonight, and thanks for attending our October 25th meeting at Frontier Fire Hall. Yeah. And I'm glad you're going to be able to help us with grant opportunities. I guess I didn't realize Rob Blue has been gone for 3 years.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why Wheatfield's been struggling trying to get grant money to fund our trail, because we're not putting the cost of that trail, which could be $3 million, $5 million, on the backs of the taxpayers.
Right.
So if the trail is going to be built, it's going to be built with grant money. Wheatfield's going to be responsible for maintaining it. I'm glad you're going to be able to get helpful workers to help clean it and spruce things up along the river or the trail. But we really, really, really need your help getting grant money. If there's a lead out there, I mean, Joe Gargas is on our team, and he hears some opportunities, and we feed it to our grant writer. But it's we can't hear everything. But
sure.
You're on the ground and you're hearing our needs, and hopefully you're going to be able to relay that to the state, the federal, or whoever's going to be able to help fund this.
And I will share, at our most recent Greenway Commission meeting, which happened a few weeks ago, I did share some of the issues that Wheatfield is running into with the trail, just on a very broad basis. And the Commission really is behind all of you to make sure to do whatever we can to assist.
It's frustrating because the county is willing to give us some money, but the county wants to see some progress. I mean, and they don't like us spending a lot of time designing it, and we're fighting with the railroad trying to see if we can go over the Conrail or under it or through it or over it or however we can get
underneath it, maybe.
And it's just we're in the middle of planning this thing, and it's hard to plan it not knowing where your funding's coming from.
Sure.
Had the county granted us what we asked for, the $600,000 we asked for, that would have been enough to do the first half of the trail, get it to Liberty Drive. The county chose to give us a small amount, about 10% of that. So we don't have enough to complete the first half. If you don't have enough to complete it, we better not get started.
Sure.
So therein lies the problem. It's strictly financial, and that's the less expensive of the paths.
Right.
Anytime you'd like to go take a walk over there or drive over there and see the nature of the problems, I'd be very happy to go with you. And I'm sure Larry's been involved in this project for 15 years, probably, maybe more.
Okay.
We'd be happy to explain it to you. Our town engineer
Mhm.
is heavily involved in the process. We'd be happy to give you whatever you need, but if you can help us
Sure.
to get there, we're happy to do our share.
Great.
We're not gonna put $5 million on the back of Wheatfield Road.
And that is
It's just not gonna happen.
entirely understandable. Yeah, and it shouldn't have to go on the taxpayers. Absolutely.
Thank you very much for coming
Thank
again.
you.
Are there still active committees? Now, I've been a part of the Greenway for,
Bless
like
you.
Supervisor Cliff said, probably 10 years, but in
Mhm.
the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, we've been kinda not attending any committee meetings, but that may be
Yeah.
because of Rob Lou's
Yeah.
censor, but
So like the elected officials
yes.
committee, I think that's gone a little quiet recently. But I'm hoping that that starts back up. We're gonna have some new commissioners coming on in probably the spring. So I think once that happens, we'll be able to get ourselves reorganized and get that committee back up and going.
Because this is such an unusual situation, and basically the Greenway is going to crash and burn in Wheatfield unless we somehow
Right.
overcome it. Is there anything like addressing back to the Power Authority to try and get some more money available and make us a host community to be able to get that done? Is that even worth considering?
That's a great question that I don't know the answer to, but I am happy to look into that and see if
We-
there's some opportunity there.
We have no money to deal with on our own that we can control. It's strictly the only thing left is the county.
Right.
And they only have, I think, $340,000 a year
Mhm.
going forward, and they have several projects.
Of the-
It's the 50-year,
It's 50 years.
50-year
The
relicensing.
relicensing agreement? Yeah, it's 50 years. 42 more years.
Something like that.
Yeah. I think we want a trail before 42 years. So,
I,
yeah.
so, thank you very much
Great,
for coming.
thank you all. Have a good evening.
Take care. Okay, so, Brian, we're at public input. Is there anybody who signed up? Okay, is there anybody who wishes to speak tonight on any subject before the town? Okay, there's nobody who wishes to speak on any subject before the town at this point. Okay, then we'll move on. Kathy, for the record, all board members are present. We have a set of minutes, gentlemen, from November 21st. Does anybody wish to move those in for approval?
So moved.
Second. Moved by Randy, second by Gil. Anything that anybody wishes to modify or change? If not, then all in favor of the minutes as presented, say yeah. Sorry,
Aye.
let's go with aye. Any nays? That's approved. We do have a small bill pay this month. It's only $94,697.30. That's the voucher numbers are 2016 2367 through 2445. Does anybody wish to move those in for approval? Moved by Art. Need a second.
Second.
Second by Randy. Any bills anybody wishes to hold? All in favor of paying these bills?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's also approved. Paul is here. What's going on in Highway, Paul?
holding up for a few more years. Put Rob in, we'll make it last a few more years, which is good. We did do a widening and milling out of Hill Road, very nice. A little bit, doing that. Drainage work for the year, we worked on 11 different problem areas. A total of 4.6 miles in the area of between the 17. Pipe, we did 1,280 foot of either pipe replacement, pipe that was bad, or new installed, just the roadside areas that needed to be done. On top of that, everybody knows, brush, leaf sucking, stormwater. A lot of different jobs we do besides this list, but that's the main bulk of our money goes. Your money, tax money, and tip money. For a little comparison, I started here in 1990 with 11,125 people. 2016 we had over 18,000 people, increase of 63%. We had 40 center line miles in 1990, and now we have 67, an increase of 58%. 1990 we had 10 employees, now we have 15 in the highway department, and that's only 30%. So when people say you got to do more with less, we have that for the last 25 years. Combined, we used to send out 5 plow trucks, they had 2 plows to follow and 2 plows behind them. Now we do it as one operation. We work with one less truck. Now we work with 6 big trucks instead of having 7 out there on the road. Then we just that. I just want to give you a little comparison of yesterday and today. The difference on everything drawn up. We bought a grade all 1990 for $130,000. Right now, going to take that grade off $350,000. My new equipment budget, right around about $150,000. Ford is a great race team. They replace a lot of equipment. I had to do different things in the budget to get where I can get to equipment that they've been very good going along with me updating stuff. And it has to be. Once the vehicle gets to a certain age, it becomes a money pit. Putting more money in it than what it's worth. Doesn't seem like, when you spend $400,000 on a couple of dump trucks. Yeah, when you're spending $20,000 a year on a dump truck that's worth $5,000, come to the point where it's the worst thing in the car. We also did 3 bridges slash culverts. That was contracted out. Luke Construction was doing on Air Road and the one on Lefty. In 2007 we were told that that's going to be replaced. We're a little late and we did get it done. And unfortunately we kind of had to have an emergency replacement, and that was on Waldo when the head wall blew out. And it was my guys who did that job. One day they gave me that bridge. It was down, and I was running at 6 o'clock that night. It took us a while to complete the whole job, but it worked pretty good. How do I buzz you up for that? I have 3 things that I wasn't able to get into the ordinance tonight because supposedly we're coming back to me with a half of people. I know it's going to be the end of the year, and I might have stuff taken care of before Christmas. I got 2 man doors on my garage. Went up there the other day. Unfortunately, I walked through the office. I don't walk through the man door to go outside a lot. And I found a block that wasn't locked. I passed through the door and still got it out. The framework on it. Got to kick the door still open. And he just started flowing. The steel starts flowing and it gets rusty. That's how it's done. I got 3 bids on that. To replace whole floors, frames. And the cheapest one was stair doors for $2,314.30. Like to replace some 2 doors. Started got the prices around the 3. The next thing was to put some fencing around our place. There's a couple gates that are shot. One gate is actually totally missing. We put the paint now, and I'm pretty sure we're going to carpet these days. And also about 100 foot of fence that we can put the sides into the neighborhood so they don't have to wait for months and months. It cleans it up, but it's not going to happen overnight, so we're doing it to kind of give it away to the dirt and the wind is going into their yard and their pool all the time. I had one problem with that. I dropped 6 quotes. 4 people responded. I have 2 quotes that are very close, but the one gentleman left out the 550 guy. So I'd like to be able to replace or do the fence for $5,000. I'm just thinking of getting the exact price to be done. It will not be more than $5,000. With you guys, and it all depends if the other guy tells me it is, we'll try to do that. We unfortunately left that out of the bid. And he knew about it. I think he just told his guy. gentleman's been very patient with me over there. He's been asking for free, well, since I've been off, he's been waiting for longer than that. The curbing's very cracked, broken apart. I don't know why it did this, but it really fell apart. And it seems just to be in the one area there, and there's bad spots throughout it, which is the worst part of it. And I got a price from Kelsey for $4,300 for each replacement of each spot. I have tried to get other companies, I've tried 4 other people to get the price in the last 2 years, and it seems like it's a job that people really don't want to do. It's a small job, requires a lot of work. Got to bust all the punch curtain out, tie the punch curtain into it, tar and the whole 9 yards. And Jerry Kowski is the only one that really needs the price on it. So I'd like to go forward with these 3 projects, try to get them wrapped up before the end of the year. And start them off. Yeah, exactly. It is getting close to winter. We went out yesterday and saw it. You know, still sunshine, so we went out. It was 32 degrees and snowing out. I guess you never too wrong to send somebody out to saw it when you don't send them out. Tonight there was some cars out on the driveway or out in the road parking. So I did call the police officers to fix it last night. I said, keep in mind, getting there now. Once the snow starts, they're going to start taking your cars. Hey, if you have something that's going on, I just don't say I do. It's gentlemen that somebody passed away in the family, they had all these out of town people come in. They know where to park. I don't know that. I send a cop over there and clean in all the cars. I was told that a big meeting there was by all the neighbors, and I don't know that something like this goes on. If you have to see a special circumstance, I'm always going to work with it. You know, sometimes you do where something happens, drivers fall apart, whatever. So, keep the roads, cars off the road now.
Keep in mind, we also have not only calling the sheriff's department by you, but we also have our constables out there writing tickets as well. And the purpose isn't to make money, because we don't make any money on that process. The purpose is to make sure that the roads are clean so that we can get in there and get rid of snow when it comes. Thank you, Paul. Rich Donner, Water Sewer.
I go along with Paul about getting quotes back from people because I've been trying to get a quote for a lift gate for the past 4 weeks and haven't had a whole bunch of luck doing it, but we're still working on it. Just give a heads up, or even before on that. But guys are busy to replace the hydrant on Lockport Road outside Intercom, and unfortunately we could not get it apart. The replacement parts on the hydrant, so the whole hydrant has to be replaced. All we're going to have to do is get done by March the other day, we'll put a bit of water over it, and try to get it shut down and make it repaired. Just the only other thing I have is we started on the process to hire the next person. We need to post out within the town for 2 weeks, and we obviously need to follow this out, we're ready to get this process started. Right now, I'm working with one secretary, and the other one will be gone at the end of the year. She'll be back for a little bit of time towards the end of the year. Then I got another one due time up, so we can get the process started and replace.
Matt, do we have to have a board approval to post?
I believe we should, most likely. I don't have 100% answer, but that's on the face that we should probably.
I'll make a motion to have our human resource director, post for the vacancy in the water department.
Second.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded to post for the position. It's done because one of the clerks in the water sewer department is retiring on December 31st, so we need to get it going. Anything further on the question?
And this will just be an internal post for now, right?
Has to start out that way. Okay, all in favor of posting?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, Rich? Anything for Rich? Going back to Paul's points, I forgot to ask if anybody wanted to make a motion at this point for any of the 3 or all of the 3 purchases, or do we wish to wait until motion? We'll hold off until motion's met. Recreation, Mike Rinelli.
Just one thing tonight, Christmas party Saturday evening over at the community center. Starts at 5:45, runs till 8 o'clock. We have magician type entertainment starting at 7. Santa will be there around 6, so it'll be a good time for the community. That's all I
Always
got
a great
there.
time over there. Anything for Mike? Thank you, Mike. Mike Clock, buildings? Any more zombie houses falling down? That'll make 5 this year. 4, I think it's 5. Bridget, we talked a couple of days ago about in the solar law there's an exemption, a natural state exemption, of which we can opt out. Are you prepared to talk about that? Okay. Well, but it would also affect school tax. It would also affect county tax. So the opt-out provision, Drew, can you explain briefly the opt-out provision?
If you're on the town tax, I think the school district has to opt out themselves, right?
So we can only control.
Town.
What we're talking about, folks, has to do with the solar law. If you put a solar array on your property, not necessarily one on, but a solar array on your property, there's an exemption under state that your property is not necessarily increased in value by the assessor. We can opt out of that, which is essentially telling our assessor, go ahead and take a look at the solar array and put a value on it, add a value to it. And there's good and bad to both sides. It is one of the things in our law that we have to be open to. Anything else for Bridget?
I got a quick question for Paul.
Go ahead.
Hey, Paul, what are the hours of the street band? Did you tell me? Oh, it's that late? It's that late? 2 a.m. to 6. Thank you.
Okay. Arlene? Should be fun. Yep. Okay. Any questions for Arlene? If not, then we'll move on to Wendell. Tim?
Thank you. We have just one thing on our agenda this evening, and it's something that we've been talking about for the past couple weeks. It basically has to do with the town's web GIS map application. As you've noticed over the past, I think, several months, sometimes you get different error signs showing up on there that the site's not accessible. Yes, it's the web mapping application that was originally developed was using this Silverlight application, which is now being phased out by every browser that everybody uses out there. So we have a proposal on our packet tonight to upgrade that using the JavaScript application, and that will be converting all of our existing web map application as well as all the custom tools that have been developed for that for the water department, and such as the hydrant maintenance records and our hot links that we can go in and basically click on our water and sanitary sewer lines and get up our as-built drawings that we've had scanned in and linked to the system.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Anything on the question? Is there anything that's actually going to improve by doing this, or is this just a matter of surviving going forward?
Yeah, actually, one of the added capabilities of the system now is going to be that it's going to be accessible by Android and iOS systems and tablets. So the water sewer department will be able to take a tablet out in the field if they want and do live updates to the system through there. Should be accessible by, I don't think you'll be able to read it very well, but smartphone type of systems.
Thank you. Any other questions? If not, then all in favor of this motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That is approved.
And that's all we have this evening, unless there's any questions.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
We do have several motions this evening. Matt?
I'll go before I read the ones that we have written down. I know we've had those from Paul that were not brought up before. So Paul, maybe if I don't include something, but the first was from Paul, Highway Department, for the installation of 2 doors at the Highway Department for $22,343, I believe. 30 cents.
So moved.
Okay, moved by Gil, second by Larry. We're doing the one at a time?
Yeah, separate.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's approved.
And the next one, as Paul indicated, was with regard to fencing with privacy louvers. He has to get the bids equalized out, but for a the lowest, most responsible bidder for an amount not to exceed $5,000.
I'll go ahead and move on that. Moved and seconded. Anything on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That's approved.
And then the last oral motion from Highway was, I believe, Boston Lane, Paul. Curbing repairs there, $4,300. That was from Trenkowski.
Does anybody wish to make that motion?
I'll make the motion, and Paul and I had talked, and maybe he won't do it this year, but he'll hold his price and do it in the spring if the weather takes a bad turn. So I'll make the motion so we can get it done as possibly now or in spring.
Do we have a second? Second by Art. Anything on this question? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? That's good.
Then to the written motions in the package, I believe the first one from Wendell for the GIS mapping, that was already approved. So we will move on, and the next one from the town attorney, town supervisor, and Green Space Focus Group regarding seeker on the conservation cluster subdivision. Now I know before I read it there was some discussion on perhaps tabling this while Drew
had some concerns, but I think we can do the seeker motion, correct?
Right, and you may be able, I think Matt put on in the resolution, the actual amendment of the law. I was worried that the one on the website had 2 components, but both components were there. It's just Matt has incorporated together, and
Right.
you feel comfortable. Richard expressed a little concern that the planning board didn't look at those lot sizes, but once I explained it to him, he didn't have a problem, but obviously he doesn't represent the whole planning board. But I mean, you could move on tonight, worst case scenario, next year you make a couple of changes with lot size. That was the only thing the question was, the minimum lot size.
Well, then if the board wants me to go through, I can move forward with the seeker motion.
The short version of it.
The short version, okay. This is a resolution for the seeker conservation cluster subdivisions, and it is as presented, several paragraphs long, but bottom line is to summarize, as presented, that the supervisor will be authorized to sign environmental assessment form acting as a negative declaration.
I'm going to go ahead and make the motion. Do need a second.
I'll second it.
Second by Gil. Anything on the question for the seeker resolution? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is approved.
Okay, now we have the, following that, the resolution to enact as local law 5-2016, the conservation cluster subdivision law as presented in the package. And I will not read that because it's 4 or 5 or 6 pages long, or 7 maybe.
Okay, do we have a motion on the law at this point? This has been bantered around back and forth for 3 years probably. It's been a law for probably over 1. I think it's gotten to a point where I think we can all live with it. Does anybody wish to make a motion to approve?
I would just note we did have a public hearing on this early summer.
A motion by Art. Do we have a second? Go ahead. Maintenance and open space? Yeah, the next page. Yep. Well, Drew, I think in a case like this is a cluster subdivision. It would come to the board to approve or not, and based upon whether or not it's going to become public or private would be our ultimate decision.
Yeah, and how it's laid out, you make that decision. If it's an important feature that's identified in your green space plan that the town wants to own, they would say that. If it's a feature that it's just preserving an area, you have some other form of ownership and some other way of protecting that land. You may have a conservation easement in your name of the town, obviously, that enforces that, but you have the choice of ownership of that.
The ultimate decision does come back to the board
Right.
with the input from the planning board and possibly the focus group. Any good questions? Any other questions? Anybody? Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor of voting in favor of the enactment of law number 5-2016, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Justin and members of your group, thank you very much for your service, and we got there. So, good job. The final version, thank God. Okay, Matt, I guess we're on,
Next one.
Escape.
Yes, next one's from motion from Building Department to authorize the Building Department to replace its 2012 Ford Escape with a 2017 Jeep Patriot vehicle pursuant to state bid contract in the amount of $20,804. Said purchase is made out of the Building Department's 2016 budget, and the vehicle would anticipate delivery in 2017. Upon receipt of new vehicle, it would replace would be placed for auction pursuant to a future board resolution.
Okay, we need a motion to approve. Anybody wish to? Yes, he has. In fact, I have a copy of it in here. Ed thinks that the best plan is to, pass it down if you wish. That the best plan is to go ahead and encumber it into this year. We will have to move some money into the account as there's not quite enough to cover the cost of the Patriot at this point. Yep. Okay,
It's a lot of miles in our little town is what you're saying, Larry.
we're still at the point where we need a motion to proceed. We now need a second. I'll go ahead and second. Anything further on the question? I do have one question. I didn't see anything in there that proves that this is piggybacked onto another state bid. You show it piggybacked on, I think it was Jamestown? Did you have any proof that it was a state bid?
It's in the packet, I think, Bob.
I did include a invoice
It's
or
on there.
Why does it say it's a state bid? I trust Mike, he says it did. Okay, we are at the point of voting. All in favor of purchasing the Patriot, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? That's approved, Mike. And presumably, after we have the new vehicle, we'll auction off the old.
Next motion, from the town attorney and town supervisor to authorize, Wheatfield Lions Club to operate Fairmount Park Snack Bar for the 2017 season, subject to Niagara County Health Department rules.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Gil, second by Randy. Anything on the question? Anything else on the question? Okay. All in favor of approving this, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And I'm going to abstain. It's 4-0 and 1, Ken.
Next motion, was from the town clerk and town attorney to enter in a contract to authorize the supervisor to sign associated agreements, proposal and acceptance to accept the construction bid for renovations to the Wheatfield Town Clerk's office. My understanding that, the two quotes that we did have are not congruent for the same work, so it's my understanding we are going to, refuse the quotes at this time. So it'll be a slight modification of what's in the package to refuse the two bids received. We sent it out to re-quote for, similar services. Yep.
In quality of product. That was a big issue. Next?
So, were we gonna make a motion to
Well, we're just gonna hold it.
Okay.
Or do we actually need to,
Well, if we're
it
gonna
wasn't a public bid, so we probably don't have to,
we don't have to. I didn't know if we wanted to formally just refuse the quotes at this, we do not have to.
well, just to be safe, I'll make the motion to reject all bids and rebid. Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so we'll look for a rebid.
Next motion's from, myself, town attorney, and there is, in the proposed motion language that the board can tailor either way, but to indicate to property owners residing on Willow Lane an interest in either accepting or refusing a dedication of Willow Lane, and to request or not request, if not needed, the property owners in question prepare and obtain a proposed surveys with a meets and bounds description and a dedication deed for proposed dedicated roadway, together with an engineering review of the proposed dedication in accordance with town engineering standards. So this is just determining direction to take towards dedication or to hold pat against it.
Does anyone wish to make this motion? Does anyone wish to make this motion? Okay, our attorney has thoroughly reviewed this, and has determined that this is a private road. It is not up to specifications, and it would not be appropriate for us to continue to plow and or maintain this roadway. So there is no motion, there is no second to proceed, so that's just
Okay.
terminated for lack of a motion.
All right, I will, let the, person requesting, let them know that the town is taking no action.
Is that it for motions, or do we have some
I
supplementals?
believe we have some supplemental that were added on the last minute. The first one of that is a motion to approve the request of the Western New York Volunteer Firemen's Association regarding the 2017 convention to be held at the Wheatfield Town Campus, granting the following requested accommodations. Number one, use of the youth center and senior center to be used for various events during the convention, including use of showers located in the youth center. Number two, use of the property behind the town hall to accommodate the event. As detailed on the map that was submitted, they anticipate a tent city, which will house approximately 12 to 15 tents to be on the east side of the youth center. Number three, to receive permission to use the field furthest from Church Road for parking. Number four, use of the parking lot is requested for the duration of the convention. Local convention committee will take every precaution to protect town property, including fencing, trees, prohibited areas. And number five, the use of the town snow fence and blockades.
Does anybody wish to make this motion?
Second.
Moved by Art, second by Gill. I don't see any firemen here from St. Johnsburg. More from Frontier, right? Rich is here from St. Johnsburg. Sorry. I know it's gonna be a lot of work for you guys, but I think we wanna support you as best we can, so. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That's approved.
I got just one point first,
Go ahead.
if I could. Do you need to reschedule, Michael, any activities during that period of time? I think you had to consider them last time.
We did last time, I actually, printed the line schedule off of beginning of,
Okay. Just about the same? Yeah, okay. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, in the final motion, I have to approve the location of the placement of the previously authorized street light at the corner of Kruger Road and Niagara Falls Boulevard, and to authorize the town highway department to move the currently existing stop sign if visibility of said stop sign is possibly obscured by the street light construction and or placement.
Gil, this was originally your motion. Do you wanna make this?
Yeah, so moved.
Second by Art. Anything on the question? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's approved.
And that's it for all the motions tonight.
Okay. Next we'll move on to board member items. As always, we start with Councilman Heller.
The only item we had is a letter that went out from Wendell Engineers to the River Road residents on the trail, and we're soliciting. We had a meeting on October 25th that was lightly attended. The young lady from the Greenway Commission was there. So Wendell is following that up with some maps and questionnaire and, just outlining the trail project, try to get some feedback from about 19 houses that residents there. That's all I have.
Okay. Councilman Doucette.
I have some, from Adams Fire Hall, they'd like to remove Jason Rorta, Robin Zastro, and Steve Joshnick, and I'll make that motion.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That is approved.
And the Burkles Fire Company would like to add Cole Kish to its membership, and I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second by Larry. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's approved.
And that's it.
Councilman Gerbeck. Councilman Retzlaff?
Nothing.
Going good? I'll, stick with it. I had a piece of correspondence, but I think I sent it around. And that is for the what? Oh, yes. Rosal Homes has asked us to put street lights on a couple of their new roads. One on Parkside and one on the Briars. I don't know if we did send this around to you guys, because it just came in. 3 on Harley Court, and 2 at the Briars, on the new road over the Briars. Does anybody wish to take action on this tonight, or do we want to hold off until a future meeting?
Are they just regular streetlights, like on a wooden pole? Or are
They'd likely be the normal metal poles, but that's actually up to us to decide. But normally we put the decorative poles. We'd want them to match the rest that are already there.
Who's gonna pay for these lights?
These would be,
Pardon me?
it's a dedicated street, so it becomes our responsibility.
It's our responsibility to pay for the lighting bills every month, every year, but we should have new sub-developments when they build a street, the street, they should be, if they have like these fancy metal poles, and because they don't usually put the wooden poles on the new streets anymore.
Nope.
They're all the nice, bronze, black poles, and, the lights that go on those are a little bit fancier than your standard, lights that are out in the country.
Isn't that our policy, though? It's our
Yeah,
decision?
our policy is to pay for lights on corners and intersections.
Right.
But
Of our streets.
of our streets.
And these are our streets.
I guess, but the installation of putting in those poles is starting to get expensive.
Shouldn't this be caught at the planning stages?
Every road has them. Every road has had them. Okay. I'll bring it up for the next, meeting, and we can have discussion.
Could we get a price on what they want per light fixture versus a standard pole?
Well, if standard poles aren't allowed under our law, so. Yeah. These will take a while also. It's not that we never did anything. We requested it, we approved it, and it's up to National Grid. We still don't even have the contract from them yet. They just take forever. We're not putting it up. It's National Grid that's putting up. We have to sign a contract. They write the contract. I don't think it's been a year. Not. I don't think.
Which one are you talking about taking
The one at Kruger and the Boulevard.
We just approved that
We just,
a month ago. No, I know. First time I did the motion for that.
Which we did.
we approved the location on this motion we just did, right?
Yeah.
That's what we just, it took time for the state to, come up with a plan with National Grid on location, easements, and now we approved the location.
Now we have the approval. It goes back to them. Then they send me a contract, and then they'll put it in. It does take a while. Okay, well, we'll hold off on this until next meeting. If you have specific questions you want addressed, please let me know what they are. It's in our code. That kind of stuff is in our town code. We have a specific policy that we go by. Corners, cul-de-sac, primarily corners and cul-de-sacs, and intersections, sorry. And we try to stick to the to the code that's in place. This is according to code.
And the cluster subdivision, that is about a specific type of building subdivision. It is, we have different codes with regard to the height. That has not changed, and those still apply.
Okay, I really have nothing else to do at this time. Is there any, we'll go back to public input. Is there anybody that wishes to speak on any subject? This is your opportunity to speak on any subject before the council. Okay, if not, our next board meeting is December 19th, 2 weeks from tonight. Hopefully we can handle the solar law that evening. And with that, I request a motion to adjourn.